So hey everyone, welcome to today's class. Today we are going to discuss on AWS organizations, and this is one of the AWS services that allows you to do a multi-account strategy. AWS Control Tower, which is a brand new service that was released this year. So Control Tower also utilizes AWS organization in the background. So let's first learn about what AWS organization is, what features it brings about onto our AWS space, right, to all of the services that it supports. And let's get started. So AWS organizations help you centrally govern your environment as you grow and scale your workloads on AWS. So whether you are a growing startup or large enterprise, AWS organizations helps you to centrally manage your billing, which is great because when you have multiple AWS accounts and you would like to manage your billing in a centralized place and also all of your tax related work on your billing dashboard. So you would like to control this and manage it from a centralized place. AWS organizations can help you with that. And if you want to control access to certain AWS services, you can use AWS organizations. But this access that we are going to specify over here is applied across your AWS account. So it's not similar to what you do with IAM, wherein you control access to one or two services. But when you do control access from AWS organizations, you control the access to all of your AWS services, and you can specify that some services are allowed to be used within that account, some services are not allowed to be used, and so on. So we will look at how do we do that in the later slides. And also allows you to achieve compliance and security too, right? And it also allows you to share resources across your AWS account by using it also supports the firewall manager service. It also supports the RAM, which is resource access manager service. And using that, you can go ahead and share your resources across AWS accounts. And AWS organization also works with CloudWatch events. And when we spoke about CloudWatch before, we spoke about a concept called as event bus. So if suppose you have 4 AWS accounts that are part of your AWS organizations, you can consolidate all of your events from those respective AWS accounts by just giving access to your entire organization in your CloudWatch event bus, right? So that's also possible. And using AWS organizations, you can also automate your account creation through programmatic CLI commands. I don't think it's possible through the console, but you can create new AWS accounts through the CLI commands. And it allows you to create and group your accounts to reflect your business needs, and to also apply policies on these accounts or for these groups for governance and compliance, right? So you can also simplify billing by setting up a single payment method for all of your AWS accounts. So that's one of the other features that AWS organization brings you. So some of the benefits in gist and in short. So you can centralize, manage your policies across multiple AWS accounts. You can govern access to AWS services, resources, and regions. So you can specify that you can use these services only in the specific region, and you can say this on the account level through AWS organization, so that in that particular account, only that particular region and those services that are specified can only be used. And you can also automate your account creation and management. You can configure AWS services across multiple accounts. So you can specify that these services are enabled and these services are disabled, right? And you can also do this consolidated billing across multiple AWS accounts so that you have only one bill for all of your AWS accounts that you go ahead and pay. So now let's come to the concept of organizational units. So this is a concept that AWS organization provides to group your AWS accounts together and administer them as a single unit, so that it simplifies your management of your account. So let's say, for example, I have the root organizational unit, and within the root organizational unit, I create an organizational unit for dev, QA, stage, and prod. So I have 4 organizational units. I can have multiple accounts just for dev. I can have 1 or 2 accounts for QA. I can have multiple accounts for stage and prod. Therefore, what happens over here is I can ensure that I manage my policies that needs to be set on the dev related accounts. I can put those policies on the OU itself, on the organizational unit itself. So all the accounts that are within that organizational unit automatically inherits the policies, right? So you can create multiple organizational units within a single organization, and you can also create organizational units within other organizational units. So it's like a tree level of hierarchy, wherein you create one organizational unit and then you create multiple organizational units below that. So you can have multiple AWS accounts accordingly. So you can have a tree structure over there. And each organization unit can contain multiple AWS accounts, and you can also move AWS accounts from one OU to another. However, organization unit names should be unique within a parent organization unit or a root organization unit. So that's something that you have to remember, right? So now when it comes to consolidated billing, this is also one of the features of AWS organizations. So you can use the consolidated billing feature in AWS organizations to consolidate your bill and your payment for multiple AWS accounts. So every organization in AWS organization has a master account that generally is the payer account that pays all of the charges of your member accounts, which is also called as your linked AWS accounts, right? So some of the features that it brings onto the plate is you have one bill for all of your AWS accounts. And it's also called as easy tracking because you can track the charges across multiple accounts and also download the combined cost and usage data for all of your AWS accounts as a cost usage report. You also get combined usage wherein you get some discounts. So you can combine the usage across all accounts in your organization to share the volume pricing discounts or reserved instance discounts or the brand new recently released saving plans. So this can result in a very low charge for your project or department or your company that has individual standalone accounts, right? And we will talk about the reserved instance pricing in the subsequent slide, just so that you get an idea. And there is no extra fee for using consolidated billing. It is offered at no additional cost. And while you create your AWS organization, you have to go ahead and invite AWS accounts. So you can present the email address of the root account of that respective AWS account, and then you can invite them. So it's from the master account that you initialize AWS organization that you go ahead and invite your linked accounts, right? And while you do that, you can choose to enable AWS organization with all features, or you can enable AWS organization with only consolidated billing feature. So when you enable it with all features, you get another additional advantage, which is the service control policies that you can specify on the account level. Otherwise, if you go with only consolidated billing features, you only get the consolidated billing feature of AWS organizations, where you'll get one combined usage and all of these features that we discussed right now. So when it comes to the reserved instances, the kind of pricing that you will get over here when you do consolidated billing is, so it treats all of your accounts in the organization as a single account, right? So this means that all of the accounts in the organization can receive the hourly cost benefit of the reserved instances that are being purchased. So for example, let's say that we have Bob and Susan having two accounts in an AWS organization, and Susan has purchased 5 reserved instances of the same type and Bob has none. But during one particular hour, Susan chooses to use 3 instances and Bob chooses to use 6, for a total of 9 instances that are on the consolidated bill. But AWS only builds 5 EC2 instances as the reserved instances, and the remaining 4 EC2 instances as regular instances, because they are using the same size and they are being launched in the same availability zone. So that is one catch over here. So you have to, I mean, Bob receives that cost benefit from Susan's reserved instances only if he purchases his instances in the same availability zone where Susan has purchased her instance. So again, going back to this example, I'll just reiterate. So if Susan has purchased 5 reserved instances, and at any point of time she is using only 3 EC2 instances and Bob is using 6, and there is a total of 9 EC2 instances running in that AWS account, across 2 AWS accounts, and both are part of the AWS organization where consolidated billing is enabled. AWS builds only for 5 EC2 instances as reserved instances, and the remaining 4 as billed as regular instances. So that kind of cost benefit you will get when you use reserved instances. The same holds true for database reserved instances, but it's just that the instance type and the the database type that the person has chosen, whether it's MySQL or PostgreSQL, also has to match, including the availability zone. This also holds true for Elasticsearch and also for Elastic Cache when you use consolidated billing. So 4 services actually support this. So one is reserved instances for EC2, the other one is your database reserved instances, and the other one is Elastic Cache, and the last one is Elasticsearch reserved instances. So these all benefit from consolidated billing. Okay. So now we will look at this one property where we have something called as service control policies. It could be thought of similar to IAM if you want to visualize it, but then this is something that you put on your account level or your organization unit level, or on your root organization unit level, right? So service control policies are one of the type of policies that you can use to manage your organization. So it offers central control over the maximum available permissions for your accounts in your organization, and it allows you to ensure your accounts stay within the access control guidelines that you have set for your organization. And it's only available in an organization where all features are enabled. So that's why I mentioned before that when you create an AWS organization, you have the opportunity to choose between all features and consolidated billing feature alone. So when you go with all features, you get this additional advantage of using service control policies. And you can attach a SCP to a root account, or you can do it to the organizational units that you create, or directly to the account that is part of that organizational unit. And you will still need to actually attach your IAM based policies or your resource based policies to your resources in your organization to actually grant them access. So SCPs is like a preventive measure. So it's you can put all of your permissions over there, and you can specify your compliance in your organization and so on. But it's just that your IAM users still need to have IAM policies, or your S3 buckets or your SQS queue or your SNS topic should still have resource based policies, so that your users can actually access all of the resources within AWS. But then they are all tied and controlled, and they are following the guidelines that have been specified by the service control policy. So one good example over here is, if suppose I apply this service control policy on my root OU or on my individual organizational unit where I have accounts attached, or even if I attach this directly to a particular account, that specific accounts, IAM users and so on, they will not be able to go ahead and delete any of the flow logs. They will not be able to delete any of the CloudWatch logs group, nor they'll be able to delete the CloudWatch log stream. So this is one small example of a service control policy over here. So you can attach this service control policy on the root or individual organizational unit or individual AWS accounts, right? So the document over here that I have attached explains a lot of service control policies that you could possibly look at and create for your own organization to follow some of the compliances. So let's go to the console right now, and let's look at how organization looks like, right? And let me show it to you on a practical aspect so that you get more idea.